Hello, myself Sunil R Nair. Here, basically, we are discussing about the topic that is the currencies, basically. And in this, basically, till now we have discussed lots of things, basically. And in this, basically, we are discussing that basically how that software company basically are creating the human needs, and how basically the human needs on the base of the human needs basically how basically they are earning more than 70 to 80,000 crore, not thousand rupees, basically it's a crore, basically 70 to 80,000 crore. So that 70 to 80,000 crore basically are going to connect to that 12 lakh crore amount, basically which are basically in stock exchange, basically which is how basically this basically connects, that basically we are going to see in later on video, basically. So currently basically the thing is basically that I will take one example, basically then it will be clear. For example, one software company told that basically we are we are going to create a Apple, basically. And Apple basically, when the creation happen, then the entire setup of the Apple basically is done by the software side. And this setup basically example basically we have already discussed in the later in project, basically. So in this basically we have told that basically the Apple creation is going to happen, and this is the basically the software which is going to create. Like this basically they started the creation of Apple. Like this basically they told that basically per day basically around 1 crore Apple is going to be create. 1 crore Apple is going to be create. So 1 crore basically Apple means basically one apple basically cost, assume that around 100 rupees or basically 40 rupees. So how many more than basically 100 crore, basically more than 40 crore basically amount basically is going to get per day, basically. So basically they are basically producing 40 to 8 more than 40 crore rupees. From that basically they are basically producing the apple of 40 to 40 more than 40,000 crore rupees. So you can just imagine basically 42 for more than 40,000 crore, sorry, for more than 40 crore basically production basically is done basically of the apple basically per day, basically. So you can just imagine per month basically how many the apple basically might be producing. So like this basically the just this is just the example of the apple, basically. Like this basically lots of human needs basically software companies are producing. So like this basically you can just imagine the income basically of the software industry, basically. So that is basically the more than 50 to 60,000 70,000 basically crore, 70 to 80,000 crore basically few companies basically earns the money, basically. That's why basically that 12 lakh crore dollar basically example we are going to take few things basically we have already discussed, basically this 12. So slowly basically it might possible that that 12 lakh crore basically amount which how basically it's connecting that basically we might see in the videos only, basically. And we basically we basically can't able to judge also, basically. So like this basically this is also basically connecting to that 12 lakh crore dollar amount. So you can just imagine the things, basically. So like this basically currencies, basically we are talking about the currencies, and that basically also connects to directly to the currencies. Few people says that basically do you know basically the country basically do you know India country, they basically are doing international markets, right? Basically international business they are doing, international things basically they are doing. So they might be connected with set of groups now, basically. Without that basic they are also basically might be doing some business. Then for example one person told that basically USA is very good friend here basically of India, basically. Few people says that like this. Then one of the person basically economist basically told that basically India USA is friend, reason is basically India is giving this many investment to USA here, basically. Otherwise basically they are, that's why basically they are allowing the Indian basically to stay in the USA, basically. Otherwise they will say that please get out from India, sorry, please get out from USA. They are directly going to tell this, basically. One of the economists basically told that, and this is fact, basically. USA basically is getting investment in India, sorry, in USA from India government and from Indian government and from Indian businessmen. That's why they are basically allowing Indian to stay. But the relationship nowadays basically is already made. So they might possible that they keep the relationship, and if investment will not happen, then basically they will not do anything. that type of thing basically. Then basically one of the USA economics told that basically then basically how USA is going to survive here basically. Then how the USA is going to survive. Then he told that basically India also basically know that basically there are lots of Indian basically in USA. So for that basically they keeps on doing the investment basically, and they basically have to do the investment basically, otherwise Indian basically might get in trouble basically. That is basically fact basically, which basically I am telling. So like this basically, so USA say that basically we are professional group basically. So professionalism basically, they basically literally basically they might tell one day that basically we are professional group basically, so please invest it. So like this basically they comes to India. If they gets the investment, then it's okay, otherwise they will see, they will tell us basically what actually the professionalism is. That's why basically Indian government, Indian businessmen basically keeps on investing in USA basically, because Indian basically are staying there. Basically more than 22 crore Indian basically are staying in USA basically. So for 22 crore basically they have to invest here basically. Otherwise they will say that basically we are professional group basically. We will show our professional ethics basically. What are the things basically going to say basically. This I have already discussed basically what actually real world business is basically. So like this basically India basically the Indian government basically and the Indian businessmen basically, they basically keeps on investment, keeps on doing the investment of USA products. So what are USA basically selling basically, that by default they basically do the investment basically. They basically keeps on doing the investment basically of the particular products basically. So like this basically they keeps on doing the investment of USA products basically, in the USA products basically. So USA basically what sells basically, that basically everybody knows that USA is basically connected with the software industry, and software basically they basically literally basically they keeps on purchasing, and they keeps on the environment basically. I have taken the example of Microsoft Index, Microsoft Matrix basically. That is basically one product of the USA basically. They are purchasing it. They are, the Karnataka government has told that basically you can have this 1500 buildings basically. You just handle this 1500 buildings. So they are handling it, the 1500 buildings basically, and they are basically paying the amount also. So government is basically paying the amount basically. They are not handling in the charity base basically. Microsoft is not handling in the charity base. They are basically getting the money of the 1500 building basically. That's why basically they are helping the 1500 buildings group basically. Reason basically they have got the money, that is the 1500 building basically. So like this basically you can say that the government is basically giving the money to USA, and USA basically is allowing Indian to stay in USA. And this basically is applies to each and every country basically. And literally the Indian basically everybody knows basically. Even the South Africa basically lots of Indian basically are there. Europe also lots of Indians basically are there. Canada also lots of Indians are there. In Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, in Singapore basically. In Singapore basically 50% population are of Indian basically. So there basically they have to do lots of investment basically. And investment can be in the form of resource also basically, and lots of software resources basically are Indian basically. The big software company basically, the Indian resources basically are doing the work basically. So that is also investment basically. Investment basically can be in any form basically. It can be in monetary, it can be in energy side basically, it can be in human need side, it can be in resources side basically, it can be in talent side basically, it can be in any side basically. So relationship basically like this basically keeps on maintaining. And this example basically just now basically we discussed in previous video and this video, that basically also connects directly to the currencies. So how basically that is, that we are going to see in next video basically. For this relationship everything basically, lots of thousands of books basically are also created basically. How the resources basically, if we give this many resources, how basically they handles the currencies of the dollar, of the rupees, how they do. That also basically lots of parameters basically are there. That also we are going to discuss in next video basically. So this is about a little bit about the currency, and in this video basically, next video we are going to see a little bit more about the currencies and how the currencies are dependency and how each and every things basically are connected with each other.